So many powerful people right now are going through a very difficult time in their lives. And along this journey, you'll find yourself as you try to optimize where you want to be, you'll hit these sinkholes that are most commonly on the internet and throughout spiritual and conscious communities referred to as the dip. Most people going through this journey experience justifying their pursuits and wondering if they should continue. I know for myself, I started experiencing this over the past 5 or 6 years with music. I had never in my life felt so much that I wanted to actually quit. And it was always a pursuit of passion for me. And I started coming into my own self-betterment and finding that I was being more and more triggered and inclined to pull away, and it led me to be very depressed and feel very low about what I was doing in my artistic endeavors and if it was any worthwhile at all to me. So in this video, I'm just going to break down a few different themes of what it is to go through these dips, and I'm going to bring some clarity with my own experiences to the types of things you can do to resolve some of the hardships that you may experience along this path, and how to come out on top, above, the place you deserve to be with your success and your purpose. So without further ado, my name is Drew McClellan. Thank you for finding me on this channel. I make these videos to help people become the leaders of their own life with my experience and background in entertainment industries, service industries, and current pursuits, helping people with personal branding and content creation. I like to blend all these things to help us network in a greater creative way. The first thing that you probably experience, and I know I have, is a unexpected grief or nostalgia. And a lot of times when we go and we enter an awakening process and we start to seek our optimized life, looking for ways to better ourselves, letting go of old habits and exposing ourselves to new opportunities, you find yourself very quickly wondering where my life went, where my old identity went, and where is this place, where is this capsule of time that I had so many memories and so much of my personality is built on. Where did it all go? One, there's a nostalgia for those places, those people, those things. Some of them are truly not here anymore. Some people may have passed away. Some places may have shut down, or they just may not exist in the same way that they did, not in the same context that they did before. And this can cause a lot of existential crisis because you're on the path of seeking new truths about yourself or finding out new information in the world that has forever changed you. And I believe this is a very natural part of the beginning of the dip, is that you go through this grief, because in my personal experience, the grief came from understanding that so much of what I had perceived to be true beforehand was a lie. A lot of it was a lie. And this is definitely not uncommon for anybody opening up to their true awakening, to their true calling, to experience on the very early end of this process. Moving on to what I consider like the body of the dip is prolonged periods of decline. Now this could be in your personal life, your social life. This could be in your health. I know this comes around a lot for people who take on their awakening because of their own health journey, trying to bring more optimized energy into their life. Usually comes with a lot of physical detox, and people do all types of cleanses and homeopathic remedies and things like that, which directly exposes things that have been laying dormant in your system. And when they do come out, most people you talk to who go through a detox, they're not going to tell you, oh, it was all rainbows and sunshines. I had a beautiful time. It's not quite the blissful existential experience you might get from a mushroom trip or something like that, or an acid trip. Detoxes are usually very painful. They're very grueling on the system, and people break out in all types of rashes and, just gut pain a lot of distress on the physical system. And that at times, when that's drawn out for months and even years, that feels like a pretty slow and steady decline that is hard to get out of, and it weighs on your soul a lot. Another thing along with this prolonged period of decline is your social life may suffer, because you could just be at proximity distance, so you're not physically as close to the people you were before. But there's also the behavioral and emotional distance that you experience, the breakups that aren't even like defined breakups, where you just recognize people are guiding their lives in a different way and you're guiding your life in a different way. So you end up with a feeling of isolation that you can't quite remedy right there in the moment, and does take time to find new social outlets, new people to reflect the journey that you're on. And both the health and social aspects sort of culminate at this place of having an effect on the psyche, obviously. Throughout the body of the dip, your mental and psychological endurance isn't something that's actually been built up yet, because you haven't had to face these things in your previous existence. Like my previous existence was really based on, wake up, work, drink, party, sleep, repeat the process. I wasn't yearning for much more. I was in a cycle of self-sabotage. So it wasn't based on this, I gotta be mentally stronger. I gotta have the stamina to continue after this. And that being said, that stamina endurance is something that is 100% cultivated by the body of the dip, and something that fits within the bandwidth of the prolonged periods of decline and the grieving that initially happens when going through this phase, is what I've found is like a state of bargaining and relapse. It took me about 3 or 4 years to finally come off of the desire to want to binge drugs and alcohol and not use that as a source of release and a crutch on my life. During that time, I think what was really happening to me was I would melt down. The switch would flip, and I would need to get really drunk. I would need to drink all day, because there was some part of my past that was yearning for that kind of party, or that version of myself that was now missing needed to still be intact in some way, even if that self was self-destructive and putting me in perilous situations. You bargain with that past human nature that you used to have. You say like, oh, maybe I can still get away with this, how can I still get away with this? And I always called them these relapse moments, because you will experience, like me, most likely a number of breaking points. You can't live with the distress that you're experiencing. So where does this leave us? Honestly, the simple thing that I could say is trust the process, but something that you can actually act upon, because I do believe, and we all know, that action does build more confidence. It's in the simple things. If we know the 6 pillars of balance are family, friends, fun, faith, fitness, and finance, you can easily look at your life and know where you need to improve. For example, I know that I don't work out enough. I know that I'm not moving my body enough. I'm not exercising enough. And I procrastinate that thing. But I also know from going into routine cycles of exercise that when I do it, it clears up my mind, allows more downloads to come through. It's a very basic thing. And I know that so many of you are trying to tap into your greater power, going through these dark night of the souls, these greater dips in your experience, and trusting the process is just one thing that you can say, but actually looking at those ways to balance out and applying yourself, putting yourself into the action that creates more confidence in trusting the process, you'll find yourself revealing more insights to what your purpose is and understanding the greater challenges that you're going through, as long as you stay committed to this life work.